agency. And now I'd like to ask our acting secretary to please call the roll.
Thanks, President Dias. Division 7, Gary Van Dam. Division 6, Audrey Miller. Here. Division 5, Robert Pears.
Here.
Division 4, George Lane.
Here.
Division 1, Shelley Sourceable.
Here.
Division 3, Frank Donato.
Here.
Division 2, Keith Dias.
Here.
General Manager Chisholm.
Here.
Attorney Markman. And Pam Clark, present for Holly Hughes.
Thank you. Item 3, voluntary public roll call. If any member of the public wishes to introduce themselves, please feel free to do so now.
Vincent Dino, Palmdale Water District.
Thank you, Vince.
Good evening. John Ukestead.
Thank you, John.
White Fence 3, Jack Seacles.
Thank you, Jack.
Hi, Keith. This is John Joyce reporting for the Roseman News.
Welcome, John. Thank you very much. Anyone else? Hearing none, we'll move along to item 4, public comments and period open to the public. If anyone wishes to address the board on any item not on the agenda, please feel free to do so now. Hearing no public comments, we'll move along to item 5. Do I have a motion to adopt tonight's agenda?
This is Director Donato. I'll move that we adopt tonight's agenda.
Thank you.
This is Director Miller. I'll second.
Thank you. Could we have a roll call vote, please?
Director Van Dam. Director Miller.
Yes.
Director Pears.
Yes.
Director Lane.
Yes.
Director Sourceable.
Yes.
Director Donato.
Yes.
Director Dias.
Yes, the measure passes. Thank you. We have no new business tonight, so we'll move along to item 7, consent calendar. Do I have a motion to approve tonight's consent calendar?
This is Director Sourceable. I'll make a motion to approve the consent calendar.
Thank you.
This is Director Miller. I'll second.
Thank you. Could we have a roll call vote, please?
Division 6, Director Miller.
Yes.
Director Pears.
Yes.
Director Lane.
Yes.
Director Sourceable.
Yes.
Director Donato.
Yes.
Director Dias.
Yes, the measure passes. Thank you. Item 7A, Finance Committee. Director Donato, do you have a report?
Yes, I do. Finance Committee met last Thursday, and we have several items to go over that are in front of you tonight. First one is consideration, possible action on the purchase orders with IWS, International Water Screens Company, for fabrications and installation of a stainless steel conveyor and system at the Quartz Hill Water Treatment Plant in the amount of $41,980.71. Our operations manager, John Bozigian, will give us an update and why we need this.
Thank you, Director Donato. Good evening, Board of Directors. So as Frank said, the first purchase order is for the modification of the existing moss screen at the Quartz Hill Treatment Plant. If you've seen that moss screen up on the aqueduct, that was installed about 10 years ago. So we had a capital asset project that was to add a conveyor system to that screen. Currently, when the moss and algae get removed from that screen through hydraulic pressure, it all collects in a trough, and the operators have to manually reach into the trough with pitchforks and rakes and kind of bring it out. There's a lot of moving parts, and it's been a little bit of a safety concern for us over the years. In high algae times during the summer, you'd think maybe we could just turn the screen off while we're doing it, but if you turn it off for 5 to 10 minutes, moss collects against the screen. You can't get it restarted. You have to actually shut the plant down to get the flow against it to reduce so you can start it again. So this will be adding a conveyor system. It'll move the moss and algae to a more safe spot so the operators can remove it. So in the past, we've had farm pump and irrigation do a lot of our screen work. They have shut down their traveling screen side of the business. International Water Screens, we've used them. They've built the east side screens. They've built the upper Amargosa screens. More than likely, they're going to build the high desert screens. They're a very good company, very reputable, have a lot of spare parts on hand. So they were the only one to submit a proposal to do this work. We budgeted $25,000. As Frank said, it came in at $41,980.71, so it's almost $17,000 over budget. But staff will track our overall asset budget and make sure that we are in the black by the end of the year. So with that being said, be happy to answer any questions about the first purchase order.
Any questions for John? If not, could I have a motion?
Yeah, this is Director Donato. I'll move on board order 8A1 for the amount of not to exceed $41,980.71.
Do we have a second?
This is Director Miller. I'll second.
Are there any questions or discussion? If not, could we have a roll call vote, please?
Director Miller,
Yes.
Director Paris,
Yes.
Director Lane,
Yes.
Director Sorsable,
Yes.
Director Donato,
Yes.
Director Dias.
Yes, the measure passes. Is Director Van Dam joining us tonight?
No, I don't believe so. He is out of town and he is not on the roll.
Okay. The measure passes. Next
Okay.
item, Director Donato.
Yeah, we're on 8A2, and this is consideration of possible action on a purchase order with National Oil Well Varco for the replacement of 6 flocculators mixers at the Quartz Hill Water Treatment Plant in the amount of $154,350. And again, John will go over this for us as well.
Okay, so the next one is another board-approved asset replacement project. So if you walk through the plant, you know that we have what are called flocculators. They, after the coagulation, after the rapid mix part of the process, it goes into flocculation. These are big mixers. They turn very slowly. They keep the particles suspended. We don't want them to settle out until they get into the clarifiers. So some of these flocculators are probably about 25 years old. They're finding it hard to get spare parts for these. So we wanted to upgrade, as we did last year, 6 of them this year. NOV, National Oil Well Varco, is the company that bought the rights to the Chemineer design, which is the current mixers that we have. So we thought we better stick with that same design, just so there's not a lot of modification in installing these. Our maintenance department will install these, so we don't have to hire out to do it. We budgeted $175,000 for this project. It came in under budget, $154,350. So we would ask that the board consider this next purchase order for that amount.
How many do we have, John?
Let's see. We have 8 per clarifier times 6, so we have 48 total. But some of them, George, were upgraded during the DBP project, so they will not. We probably have about 12 that will not have to be replaced for probably another 15 years.
Are there any questions for John?
There's not a whole lot. It's just very slow revolution, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a motor with a very heavy duty gearbox, a long stainless steel shaft, and then a big prop at the bottom, 4-blade prop. Yeah, they turn very slowly. They probably turn about 5 RPM, just enough to keep it suspended.
Do we have a motion to approve the board order?
Yeah, this is Director Donato. I move that on 8A2 that we approve the board order of $154,350.
I'll second the motion, Director Lane.
Thank you. Are there any more questions for John?
I just want to make a comment. John, you sure we can't use a cement mixer?
Well,
When you guys were describing, I started laughing inside, saying, "Oh my God, we could buy a cement truck for that."
well, if the supply chain thing goes on much longer, we may have to consider those type of things.
Okay, thanks, John.
Thank you, John. Could we have a roll call vote, please?
Director Miller,
Yes.
Director Paris,
Yes.
Director Lane,
Yes.
Director Sourcewell,
Yes.
Director Donato,
Yes.
Director Dias.
Yes, the measure passes.
Okay, brings us to item 8A3, consideration of possible action on purchase orders with R&B Automation for the replacement of 6 20-inch submerged filters, inflow valves at the Quartz Hill Water Treatment Plant for the amount of $118,954.34. John's will explain this.
Okay, this last capital project is, like Frank said, replacement of filter effluent valves at Quartz Hill. We have 24 filters. Each filter has a 20-inch diameter effluent valve that's typically submerged when the plant is online. We've been systematically replacing these valves. Some have been in service since the plant was built in 1976. They show significant leakage. We've replaced probably 3/4 of them over the last several years. It involves draining the plant, which we're going to do January 3rd. For 2 weeks, the plant will be offline. And it's a very specialized job, very time sensitive. It involves welding, it involves machine work, and it is a confined space type of job. So in the past, we have looked at several companies. Bowie Construction bid on it 1 year. They were quite high. R&B Automation seems to always be our go-to. They stock all of these valves. Lead time for these valves is typically about 20 weeks, 20 to 22 weeks. R&B has these valves in stock. They have an in-house machine shop, and they've done the last 3 of these projects for AVEC with very good success. So what we would recommend is awarding this project to R&B, and we can do it under the Section 2.1 of the Board Approved Purchasing Policy. This is a time-sensitive job, and they do have the parts in stock to be able to complete it this winter. With that being said, be happy to answer any questions. Oh, by the way, this is $81,000 under budget. So now why is it so far under budget? Because when they get in there to do this work, some of the pipe that comes out of the wall of the filter looks like it's pretty corroded. There may be some welding that and pipe replacement that's involved. We won't know until we drain the channel when they get in there. So we did put enough in there so it will not exceed the budgeted amount.
Okay, I'll make a motion. Yeah. So I'll go ahead and make a motion to accept board order 883 for the amount of $118,954.34.
Director Miller seconds.
Are there any more questions or discussion? If not, could we have a roll call vote, please?
Director Miller,
Yes.
Director Paris,
Yes.
Director Lane,
Yes.
Director Sourcewell,
Yes.
Director Donato,
Yes.
Director Dias.
Yes, the measure passes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anything else, Director Donato?
No, that'd be it. And thanks, John, for good report. Appreciate it.
Item 7B, Water Master Committee. Director Paris, do you have a report?
I'm going to turn that over to Matt to bring the board up to date.
Thank you, Director Paris.
You're welcome.
Real quickly, before I move on to what's covered under the Water Master meeting tomorrow, I'll go back to previous items that John just presented on. And as you all know, John does a great job for the agency, very committed. And I thought it'd be good to mention that this last weekend, John just had his 33rd anniversary for the agency.
Wow. Congratulations, John.
Yeah, big milestone. So not to embarrass him too much, but I thought everybody should know that. So moving on, Water Master agenda is on page 61 of your agenda packet. And it's a pretty light agenda for tomorrow's Water Master meeting at 10 a.m. There's only 2 new production applications. One is for a residential single-family home that's being built. They're requesting 3 acre-feet of new production, where they're going to have to pay replacement water on that water that is pumped each year. Also, about 15 acre-feet is being requested of new production that will also have to pay replacement water. And this is to supply construction water to an energy storage facility that's being contemplated in Kern County. That's all we have for new production applications being considered tomorrow. We also are going to give an update on where we're at with the transition from AVAC staff and Palmdale staff providing admin services to the Hallmark Group. So we've been working pretty close with the Hallmark Group. We've had several meetings, and they're starting to really dive into taking over come the first of the year. So that those communications are going smooth, and they're getting up to speed pretty quick. So happy to report that is taking place. And also tomorrow we'll give a brief update from General Counsel regarding some enforcement issues that are going on with the judgment. So that's all I have to report, unless you have any questions on the agenda.
Thank you, Matt.
All right. Thank you.
All right. Thank you all very much. Item 8, General Manager's Report. Dwayne? Or is Dwayne here tonight?
Yes, I sure am. I know you haven't heard from me yet, but yeah, I've been here. So we'll go ahead and get started on the State Water Project hydrology. And we have about a week left in October, the first month of the year, and we've had no precipitation. And all of the signs are that we're going to, from the La Nina weather temperatures at the equator, indicate that what moisture we do receive over this next winter is going to be aimed farther to the north historically based on those types of conditions. So we can anticipate a fairly dry year. Hope would be that that some of those northern rainstorms that'll hit Oregon and Washington will slip down a little bit and at least hit our area for Lake Oroville. But we'll wait to see. The only thing you can count on the weather is you can't count on it. So who knows what kind of weather year we'll receive. The next item is talking about a little bit of with regards to our operations. We're currently using about 75% of our recovery capacity at the West Side Water Bank. Part of that is because we have the Roseman plant offline for about a week to do the gearbox repairs and get some work done in the North Feeder there. We also have a tour of LA County Waterworks on Wednesday, 11/9, to kind of take a look at our facilities and get some of their staff here in Lancaster and Palmdale familiar with Avek and what our system is, and what we can do and what we can't do, and it's a good opportunity to work with them and have a better understanding of both our operations. As far as our particular operations now, we got, you can see that we're running approximately 12.9 million gallons a day. We're running, as far as the geopurification aspects, you can see we're still running pretty good out at the 50 million gallons a day out at the West Side Water Bank, and we continue to utilize the bench ranch wells during those periods. And you can see all the water banking is off for this year. So that's where we find ourselves today. It looks like we're going to have enough water resources to get through the balance of the year. As far as our capital projects, we have the electric motor on extraction well 23 has been installed and is operational. And also the East Side Water Bank, we've taken this opportunity to let the bank go dormant for a little bit, and we're going to do some remediation of those water, the bottom of those beds. And then, as John mentioned previously, we're still struggling with the supply chain issues, and it really has an effect on what we can order and what we can receive and the timing. So as we develop our projects for the winter months, when we can take things down and really analyze and review them, that's where those impacts come into play. As far as events and schedules, we have the ability to have open enrollment through the end of the month to the 31st. As we mentioned previously, the Water Master Board meeting will be tomorrow at 10. There's also a Kern County Energy Summit on the 16th of November, and I'll be in the office for the next 2 weeks. And that concludes my report for today.
Any questions for Dwayne? If not, we'll move along to item 9. Thank you, Dwayne. Directors' reports. Do any directors have reports for the meeting?
Well, Mr. President, this is Director Miller.
Yes.
I did attend the Fish and Game meeting to hear about the Joshuas, and they took no vote due to a new member, a new director, and they have closed the, they won't take any more.
Got to close the public hearing.
Thank you. Yeah. So the vote should happen in February in regards to the Joshua trees.
Excellent report. Thank you, Director Miller.
Welcome.
Anyone else? Item 10. Do we have an attorney's report tonight?
We can see him on the screen. We can't.
Jim, it looks like you're on mute.
Yeah.
If you're talking.
Sorry. So this relates to the Healy property. The board will recall the board instructed staff to respond to some interest in purchase of the Healy property for open space by one organization and to generally market the property And I informed the board that first we had to clear the marketing effort with HCD, Department of Housing and Community Development in the state because of the State Surplus Lands Act, which is kind of a draconian law that states when public entities no longer have any use for property they own and they go to market it, they have to first offer it to sale for people that are on a roster or companies on a roster who want to do low-cost housing or recreational facilities. And so that can hang you up for 6 to 9 months. And if one of those parties engages you in a negotiation, you can't, and you don't have a deal, but you make a deal with somebody else that's arguably as good or better, then they can sue you and get half of your proceeds donated to HCD. So it's a very tough draconian process. And however, we have found out through our firm through 2 other instances that special districts have essentially been ruled to, when they want to get rid of surplus property, it's deemed exempt surplus property if they are a single purpose or a limited powers district, and they can use the money to implement their programs. And we were successful in doing that. So we at the board understood, we took off and tried to get that exemption. The board adopted a resolution to that effect. So about a month ago, 3 weeks to a month ago, we had a call and we had a meeting online with HCD staff. And believe it or not, they were hung up by the idea that, are we really a water district? Which I think we are, and we proved we were, because we are named an agency. We're not named a district. And that the staff was literally hung up on that point, not any other point. So we had a discussion with them. We had to send in a letter. It was almost a legal brief. The happy ending, though, is that we found out last week that they have agreed with us now. We got a letter from HCD stating that we may now market the property and may be considered exempt surplus property. So that worked, and I guess the staff's off on going forward with that marketing. So that's my report.
So what's the difference between a district and an agency in their eyes?
George, there is none. It's in a name. I mean, we filed. There's even a roster that shows that you're considered a water district on a roster that HCD maintains for its own purposes.
Oh,
so it was just somebody who just didn't understand. And there is one sentence in the act that's a little ambiguous about that. But anyway, it was a classic run-in with bureaucracy.
Yeah, sounds like it was.
Yeah, that's all it was. But we're good now. So
good.
Yeah.
Thank you, Jim. Item 11. Are there any requests for future agenda items?
Mr. President, this is Director Miller.
Yes.
I'd like to get an update on the high-speed train coming through. The last video I watched, it's still going to pass directly over the top of the Acton treatment facility. So it'd be nice to know what they're doing, if we're trying to change that or what's happening.
I agree. Good idea. Dwayne, do you think in the future we could have an update on that item?
Yes, we can. We'll schedule something in November and be able to have an update on that and where they are with the southern part of the project. Anyway.
Thank you. Looks like we have no old business tonight, so we'll move along to item 13. Dwayne, is there a reason to go into closed session tonight?
Yes, there's item D.
Okay, do I have a motion to go into closed session for item 13D?
Mr. President, this is Rob. I move we go into closed session for item 13D as in David.
Thank you, Rob.
This is Shelley. I'll second.
Thank you. Roll call vote, please.
Director Miller,
Yes.
Director Paris,
Yes.
Director Lane,
Yes.
Director Sourcewell,
Yes.
Director Donato,
Yes.
Director Dias.
Yes, the measure passes, so we will be going into closed session for item 13D as soon as Pam can make that happen.
Recording stopped.